2 or 3 years ago, we did a video called The Teacher Trap. And in The Teacher Trap, we pointed out how many people only listen to one teacher or a handful of teachers, when you have a whole army of teachers to pull knowledge from. We only listen to a handful of teachers, a dozen at the most. And so if you want to learn carpentry, but you say, I only listen to this teacher, this is my teacher, and this teacher happens to be a master electrician, it just doesn't make sense to go to your master electrician teacher to learn about carpentry. But because you've fallen into the teacher trap, in which you only go to this teacher or this group of teachers, now you're not going to learn anything about carpentry because that's not their area of expertise. So while we talked about the teacher trap 2 or 3 years ago, today we want to talk about the black conscious celebrity trap, which is basically the same trap. You think because somebody is a celebrity, somebody's well known, somebody's getting that dollar, you think they actually know more than the next person. They have more knowledge than the next person. So you gravitate towards celebrityism, and it's maybe a dozen people that you listen to, when again there's a whole army out here. But you're only listening to this dozen people right here. It's very limited knowledge that you're getting from these black conscious celebrities, because they only have a certain area of expertise. Remember now, they're either talking about black economics, typically, Egypt, the law, or maybe the Bible or something like that. But there's a whole world of knowledge you have to obtain and attain. But when you limit your study to black conscious celebrities, then there's going to be a whole lot of information you're just not going to be privy to, because they're only going to address so many topics. Seek out this army of scholars, teachers, awakeners. Seek them out. They're out here. Now, when you're talking about celebrity, generally you're talking about somebody who has been marketed well, or they come from a big market. If we look at music, for example, Atlanta's been hot for a number of years. So a lot of the celebrity rappers are going to come from Atlanta, right? But my brother Corey and I were talking about this. He's from New York. You know, I just got to be honest. Many of the rappers that are from Atlanta that I have heard, as far as lyrics go, they can't touch New York rappers. But they got the celebrity, they got the camera time, they got the money. If you look on YouTube, they got the hits, they got the likes, they got the views. If they got a Twitter account, and every time they tweet something, they got this big Twitter following. Because everybody want to know what this rapper said. This rapper ain't talking about nothing. But that rapper is a celebrity. The rapper is well known. So you hanging on pins and needles waiting for the next album to drop. What is he or she going to say next? They ain't talking about nothing. You can look at big markets as opposed to small markets, and you'll find that in sports, let's take basketball for example, you got some teams that everybody knows about. Whether they check basketball out or not. They know about the Bulls, big market, Chicago Bulls. They know about the New York Knicks, It's a big market. That's New York. They know about the Los Angeles Lakers. It's a big market. But there are other teams that are pretty good. But the average Joe that doesn't look at basketball, they couldn't name 2 players on these good teams that are in these small markets. Does that mean it's not a good team? Or does that mean that that team just so happens to be in a small market? One thing that you need to realize about large markets is that even if the team sucks, they're going to be in the news because they suck. Whereas in a small market, that team got to be great to grab the headlines. If they suck, you're not going to hear about them at all. Just think about it now. If you follow basketball, there are some teams that you just don't hear about unless they're playing one of the teams from the larger markets. That's a fact. So again, don't get caught up in the black conscious celebrity game. If you have good information and great knowledge to bring, don't be chasing black conscious celebrity. The knowledge that you're bringing is much greater than whatever little celebrity that you can attain in this lifetime. I can talk about it from a small market of DC as it relates to music. I lived through all the eras of go-go here in DC. And at any given time, there were 1 or 2 bands, go-go bands, that people that were trying to be in the in crowd and cool, if you will, would listen to. So those are the people that say, I don't listen to nobody but Essence. I remember them days. You don't listen to nobody but Essence, but you like go-go? You don't like go-go. You like Essence. As a go-go head, I lived that life. That was my culture. That is my culture today. I listen to any band that has a good sound. Any band. Big band, little band, well-known band. Any band I would listen to. Young, old, since you got generations of go-go heads now. Just like you got generations of hip-hop heads. The music is pretty much the same age. But I played in bands that many people just ain't never heard of. And one of the songs that we had in one of the bands was one of the best songs in the history of go-go, in my opinion. But because Essence didn't hit the song in that era, then Junkyard didn't hit the song in their era, Groovers didn't hit it, Backyard didn't hit it, then it's like, well, who hit that song? I never heard that song. Why didn't you hear that song? Because a popular group didn't make it. But it was still a great song. So you can't call yourself knowledgeable or well studied if you're only going to study a handful of scholars. If you're only going to consider what a handful of so-called leaders say. If you're going to discredit what some of the scholars from smaller markets might say because they don't have as much camera time. Think about it. The black conscious community is a microcosm of the greater white supremacy society. When you look at white supremacy society and you hold it right next to the black conscious community, culture is what I'm going to call it, then you got a big market in the white man's world. You got a big market in black consciousness. You got small markets in black consciousness, and you got small markets in the world of white supremacy. But just remember, just because somebody is from a small market doesn't mean that they don't have phenomenal talents. much greater talents than some of the people that are out there in front of the camera and get plenty of camera time. These are facts. And don't spend all your time seeking the status of a black conscious celebrity. Don't do that. Because while you're chasing celebrity, you may be compromising the teaching that you're trying to bring, or that you're responsible for bringing to the world. If you're chasing a dollar, it's the same thing. How can I make money off the black community? You may compromise the message that you're bringing just a little bit, so that the masses of the black conscious community can say, yeah, I agree with what he's saying. I agree with what she's saying. But some of the things that we say are very controversial. And if you're not a thinker, if you're just a regurgitator, it's going to be very difficult for you to grasp some of these concepts. Because they're concepts that you're not accustomed to hearing. Remember, the smaller the market, the less the visibility. The less money you're going to be able to get in smaller markets. But why are you doing what you are doing? Is it for money? Is it for fame? Or is it for black liberation? Beware of the black conscious celebrity trap. This has been Daku Akabo Wakatu.